page report from the public survey, which was very long. We had one respondent, I think respondent number 783, who seemed to provide us with a thesis for every answer. God bless their heart, whoever they are. I mean, they're very intelligent. I kind of wish I knew who it was. And I wanted to just kind of give a brief, like, top 3 for each area to just kind of help us kind of boil those 80 pages or so down. And I'm going to provide this, I'm going to walk you guys through real quickly, sort of what the community felt, so that as we go through these priorities tonight, we have those in front of us. Kendra, question.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was reading everything correctly. So there was only 202 people that responded, right? Or 200 something people that responded. So that's the 200 people's responses. Because I did notice a lot of, like, even in the first section, kind of the correlation that they were trying to make between homelessness and public safety. And, you know, like, there was definitely some areas that I think as a community board we can take with a grain of salt sometimes also. Like, I read a lot of comments that I was a little like, oh, okay, that are kind of on the fence. And then thinking about it, I just wanted to make sure I was reading that 200 number correctly, because we have like, oh, hundreds of thousands in this district, right? Okay.
Right, we have 143,000. So
Gotcha.
to put that into proper context, and that's what Kendra's not bringing up to our attention, is that this is a sampling of the community. And it's actually more, and this is actually a survey that we didn't build. This survey was built by the city for the city, that is active all the time. So people in our community can continue to engage with the survey. And from time to time, the city does prompt people to engage with this survey. We asked for the results of the point in time that we started asking people to fill it out till I believe it was right around Labor Day. But I do see what you were saying as I've read through some of the anecdotal comments. So I'm going to get ready to share my screen with you so that we can look at this real quickly. And let me see, share screen, share. Okay, I'm going over here. Okay, slideshow. Okay, can you all see the slideshow nice and big?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Great.
Well,
Okay.
it's not nice and big, but I can see it.
I'm sorry, it's as big as I'm gonna get it, girl.
I understand, but yes, I can see it.
Patrice, you can make it bigger by the plus and minus at the top of the screen.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
The top 3 community issues were crime, and most of this will not surprise you. Crime and public safety, quality of life issues, noise, graffiti, petty crime, affordable housing, and homelessness. And I gave 4 answers here because these 4 were very close together. So 37.7% for public safety, down to 28.4% for homelessness. Top healthcare and human services issues: services to prevent homelessness, mental and health and substance abuse treatment and prevention programs, environmental health issues such as noise, lead, respiratory illness, moisture, mildew, etc. The next ones, and I'm just going to give them to you. We can interpret them as we see them. I know that in some ways we could think that folks were drawing a line, for example, from the number 2, mental health and substance abuse, to again, to the number 1 answer, which was to prevent homelessness. Some folks believe that that is the root. And in some instances, yes, it is the root, but it is not, it's not 100% why. Not everyone has a mental health issue. Not everyone has a substance abuse issue. Now, the top youth education and child welfare issues are schools and education facilities, specifically capacity at our schools, which again, not a surprise when most of our schools are beyond capacity. The second one was after school programs. Again, not a surprise. Community very much supports beacon programming and so on. It has had a long history of supporting that program. And then youth workforce development and summer youth employment, which again, would be great to see that move, because not everyone that applies for summer youth employment gets an opportunity for summer youth employment. So that would be great to see that grow. Top public safety and emergency issues, general crime, 29%. Traffic violation and enforcement, 26.2%. No one's talking, I'm just talking, Bruce. Can someone write back in the chat? I think he can't hear. Because I can't do that from here. Traffic violation and enforcement, 26.2%. Public nuisance, noise, or other disturbance. Now, number 2 is something that we've discussed widely. We've discussed the fact that we continue to see DOT implementing improvements, but we don't see the necessary enforcements to ensure people are complying. So that's, again, no surprise. Top core infrastructure, city services, and resiliency issues. Number 1, cleanliness and trash collection, 27%. Noise pollution, 12.1%. Preparedness for extreme weather events, including coastal flooding, heat waves, cold snaps, heavy wind and rain, 10.6%. Now, quite frankly, I thought number 3 would be further up in the ranks because of some of the things that we've seen. That to me was a little bit surprising. The number 1, welcome back, Bruce. The number 1 for cleanliness and trash, an interesting observation Christine and I made today when she and I were at the parks budget consultation. The number 1 issue for 311 calls at most of our parks has to do with litter and trash. Our community does seem to have a legitimate issue managing trash, getting folks to throw out their trash. It isn't always necessarily collection. It's how people engage with trash collection or fail to engage with trash. The top housing, economic development, and land use issue. Number 1, affordable housing. We aren't surprised. And I'm pleased to see that that's been prioritized because, again, that's how we're going to deal with part of that number 1 issue of homelessness is having true affordable housing. Number 2, neighborhood preservation. And number 3, land use and zoning. Then transportation and mobility issues. Subway service and quality, frequency, access, crowding, etc. 15.9%. Pedestrian safety, safer crossings, sidewalk management, 14.5%. And then traffic safety and enforcement, cars, scooters, e-bikes, etc., 13.8%. Again, none of this is surprising. These are all things that at one point or the other throughout the last 12, 16, 18 months, the Transportation Committee has talked about, has addressed. We have seen, welcome Martha, we have seen, you know, when we talked about congestion pricing, we knew that some of the consequences of the lack of congestion pricing would be continuing with some of these issues that people are still bringing up as concerns. So that's where we are with that. We're getting to the end. Top parks, cultural, community facilities issues, parks, care, and maintenance is 21.2%. Street tree and forestry services, including street tree maintenance, 16.8%. Library facilities and access, 14.6%. With this, we did talk to parks today. Part of the reason there could be frustration with especially the forestry is that we found out today that we're almost a year behind because there was an issue with a contractor who was to do some of the forestry work. And so they've gotten off schedule because some work that was to be done wasn't done. That's been quite consequential. So this is accurate. Their frustration corresponds with sort of lack of proper resources at Parks Department and care and maintenance. One of the things that Parks said to us, if you guys could just keep asking for more staffing, it would be helpful because they realize that they need, you know, parks are in better shape in the summers, even though more people are there. And as part of that's because we have more people on staff during summer. They have seasonal folks who come in. And I think sometimes those seasonal levels of employment would probably be really helpful to have and be able to sustain throughout the year. Let me see. I think that's the last one. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to come back into the meeting. And I will take any questions from that before we begin. The reason we started with that was just because we believe that the public is important. Whether we completely agree with their ranking of where these issues are, maybe they don't they don't jive with our ranking. It's important for us to hear from them. They are a part of this process. We will have a public hearing. As we've had the past couple of years, the community usually doesn't participate. But this is one way that they can through answering the survey. So I'm going to take any questions. Effie, good evening.
Good evening. So I'm here as a designee for Edwin, who is celebrating the Mid-Autumn Festival. I wanted to verify, I'm almost sure I know the answer, but I just want to double check. Whatever we recommend is only advisory in nature, it's not binding, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. The one thing I would have loved to see is to get some kind of like rough estimate of numbers, because like something that costs 1 million is very different than something that costs 250 million to implement. Is that something that they ever provide, or that's like not usually how they do it?
No, that isn't how they do it. We
So
make,
if I could just channel Frank, we don't have a checkbook. Effie, I'm sorry. We don't look at the priorities. If this is $1 million and this is $2 million, this is something that this process does not look at. So it's more about what we think is important. And even if we might think something's important, that may not be very expensive, but we might think that something is important and it might be expensive. So yeah, it's not a question of the funding. It's more about the question of what we think is needed in our community.
yeah,
Right. But obviously expense makes a huge difference in terms of practically like the feasibility of implementing that.
Yeah, again, not for this process.
All right, understood.
Expense
Yeah,
doesn't matter, or the cost doesn't matter for this process. We're just trying to indicate to the city what we think is important.
Hi, just a quick question.
it's very different. You guys got to use the raise hand function.
Yeah.
If understanding, like if you've engaged in other processes, Effie, I know you have through the PEP, if you're here and you've worked with, like for instance, participatory budgeting, you're used to getting an estimate of numbers. What we are merely being asked to do is to look at the overall needs. And some of this is driven by the calls that come into the office. I think given the amount of complaints about 4th Street, it's not surprising to the office whatsoever. So what we're being asked to do is, despite cost, what does the community need? Like, for example, we've been told time and time again that replacing our sewers is going to be a very costly endeavor because our pipes are so old. And we as a board know that those pipes aren't getting any younger, and those pipes aren't getting any cheaper year by year. And we keep asking for them because why? We're very concerned about the flooding that we've been seeing when we have major storm events. So regardless of cost, sometimes things are needed that are just budget busters, unfortunately. Eugene, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I may have missed this because I missed the first couple minutes, but did we do like an overview of where, like how many people responded to that survey?
We did talk about that.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed it.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm glad you're asking. It was 200 people.
200 people? Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Yep.
So, I mean, when you do, to Candra's point that she raised earlier, it's 200 people in comparison to, at least the last time I looked, I think we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 143,000 people. So it is a very small percentage. Any other, Eugene,
Yeah.
you have another question? I see your hand up.
Nope, I just forgot to lower it. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
good. I just didn't want to.
Latrice has her hand up.
Yeah, I see it. Go ahead, Latrice.
Okay. Well, I don't have any questions, more like comments. I was thinking back to when I helped out at the Austin Street cleanup earlier this month, and we were talking about sanitation. When I was cleaning up on Austin Street in the side streets, one of the things I picked up on that, and this is my personal opinion, I find it very unsightly, is cigarette butts. Like when I was out there cleaning, I made it a point to pick up the cigarette butts. Like I had the little tweezer thing, whatever you want to call it, picking those up. And we can't blame that on Mother Nature. It's humans who are doing that. And so it's like everyone has to do their part. I personally don't smoke. I've lived with a smoker for many years. My mother, may she rest in peace. But like when I saw those cigarette butts, it's like, yeah, we can't kick the can down the road on that one. It's humans who are doing that. It's humans who are putting those cigarette butts on the ground and making the sidewalks and the streets by extension less, appealing. So that's just something I have wanted to point out in terms of sanitation, is that we humans, especially smokers, have to do our part in keeping the streets and the sidewalks clean. Thank you.
I appreciate that perspective. I know that given the new smoking, not so much new anymore, but the smoking policies of not smoking inside, being outside, it puts folks outside. I know that, New York City does not put, I grew up at a time when you would find trash cans with ashtrays at the top with a little bit of dirt inside.
Yeah.
Dip. But we don't do that anymore. And I think part of the reason the city doesn't do that anymore is it might be seen as a way to facilitate or creating ease in smoking, where the city sort of wants to cut back on that. I don't know as to why there aren't some type of receptacles for cigarettes except for the trash cans. Yes, Kendra.
Can I just do a
Hold on.
time check? It's 7:20.
Yeah, I know.
So if we could kind of get to the
Yep.
actual budget priorities. Kendra, if you want to make a comment, I'm just saying that
Well, I
think
was
we
just
can
gonna
get the
say,
actual
our
priorities.
outside our apartment building, our super has one of those little cigarette butt things. So if every building would just do that too, and like businesses would do that, then smokers would have some place to put their stuff. So we petitioned for our building to have them do that.
That's great. That's really good. Maybe if more buildings did that. Okay, so Mark, I'm going to turn the over to you so that we can go through the rankings, starting with capital. Christine, are you, because I'm going to be making the changes that we have to make. Are you able to share the document as it was sent out? Did I
think
make
so.
you? Do I need to
Give me a
make you?
second. No,
Are you?
it should. I think I'm. Oh wait, you have to make me. I think I can share. Just give me a second.
Okay. Okay.
Mark,
you
if
can
you
go.
want to start talking about the process,
Okay,
while
yeah,
I pull this
all right.
up.
So before, as we're trying to figure out how to share the screens, I think first I want to say thank you to Christine and to Heather. They've done a tremendous amount of work on this process. So I really wanted to share my appreciation of that. I think we're going to start because we have a couple new people here. So I think we should sort of go around the room, introduce ourselves, and tell which committee we represent. I'm going to go where I see people on the screen. So Brantley, can you introduce yourself and what committee you're with?
Hi, everyone. My name is Brentley
Oh,
Winstead.
sorry, I'm sorry, because okay.
Oh,
I can't
sorry.
see
Let me
people.
move. Okay.
All right. So Brantley.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brentley Winstead. I am the co-chair for Consumer Affairs.
Okay.
As well as cultural.
All right. I see Kendra next.
Hi everyone, Kendra Clark. I'm the co-chair for the Mental Health and Substance Use Disorder Subcommittee.
Latrice.
Hello, I'm Latrice Davis. I am chairwoman of the Committee for Those Without Shelter.
Bruce. Bruce, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
He's going to come back again.
Okay. So, right. Edgar.
Hi, everyone. I'm Edgar. I'm on the Transportation, Public Safety, and there's something else committee with Peter.
Okay. Thank you. Gladys.
Hey everyone, my name is Gladys Sandoval. I'm the co-chair of the Cultural Affairs, Economic Development, and Small Business, along with Brentley.
Okay. John.
Yes, good evening. I'm John Dereshevsky, the board's parliamentarian and chairman of the Bylaws Committee, which has actually a whole bunch of priorities I want to do. They will go nowhere, but I will pursue them. And I will also be involved in the rest of the discussion.
Keith.
Hey everyone, I'm Keith Engel, a second vice chair and chair of the Land Use, Housing, and Landmarks Committee, and also the committee for the Rockaway Beach right-of-way, which we probably won't be talking about tonight. But
okay, people moved around. All right, Kavish.
Good evening. My name is Kavish Batra. I'm co-chair of the Parks and Libraries Committee with Mark Betzel.
Okay. Eugene.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eugene Schwartzman. I'm chair of the Public Affairs Committee.
Gladys, we got Effie.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Effie Zachary. I'm representing the Veterans Affairs and Public Services Committee this evening as a designee of the chair, Edwin Wong.
Thank you. Peter.
Evening, everyone. First Vice Chair and Co-Chair with Edgar of the Transportation, Street Safety, and Transit Committee. That was the other one, Edgar.
Okay. Martha.
Can't hear you, Martha. Are you muted? You're muted.
Okay.
Can you hear me
She's
now?
on mute now.
There she is.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm Martha. I'm co-chair of the Parks and Recreation and Libraries Committee, and I work along with Kavish on this.
Thank you. LT.
I'm LT Giacchio, and I'm chair of Finance and Personnel Committee.
And Shari.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shari, and I am the chair of the Education and Youth Committee.
And we'll go back to Bruce.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Yes.
Well, I'm still Bruce. I'm the head of the chair, I'm sorry, not the head of anything.
Okay.
I'm the chair of the Aging, Social Services, and Disabilities Committee.
Thank you. I think I got everybody. Did I miss anybody? Good. All right. So, I think that do people think it would be useful just to kind of go through how we got here? Would that be useful
No.
to people or no? No. Okay, fine. So, after we did the intro. Okay. So just to review the protocols for tonight, because I know a number of people are probably new. So what we're going to be doing tonight is first we're going to start with the expense priorities. So I guess, Christine, if you want to share your screen with the expense priorities.
Sure.
Now, what we're going to do is just first specifically about the expense priorities. The city allows us up to 25 expense priorities. We have 35, which means that 10 of the ones that committees have recommended will not go to the city. So that's, I just want to let people know about that. So the process that we're going to utilize tonight is number one, raise your hand. And if you want to change a priority, if you want to move it up, you want to move it down, you give us the number of the priority that you want to change, and then tell us where you want to move it to. So if you want to change, okay, I have it in front of me. If you want to expand summer rising, which is priority 14, you want to move it up, you tell us I want to move it up to above number 10, the additional city park workers. Just to give you an example. So you tell us what number you're moving and where you're moving it to. And then the most important part is you have to justify it. You just can't go, I want to move it because I like to move it. You have to have a rationale. You have to have a reason why you want to move it. And then once you go through all that, I'll then call for a second. And if there's a second, we'll have discussion. And then ultimately we'll take a vote of if people want to move it or don't want to move it. So we'll do with expenses first. And then after we finish with expenses, we're going to do the capital. And then after we finish with capital, we'll have basically the finalized product of what we're going to do. So what happens after this piece of the process, once we kind of come up with the priorities from this committee, we're then going to make a recommendation to the full board next month in the October meeting. Again, go through a similar process if any board members want to move things up or down. And then we're going to finalize it in October. And then it gets handed off to Christine and the office, and they're then going to write it up and submit it to the city. Christine, your deadline is what, the end of October?
October 31st.
October 31st. So by October 31st, that's why we're doing this in September. We do the vote in October. So any questions about this process?
Quick question. What is Summer Rising? Can you explain what number 14 is? What is Summer Rising? Thank you.
I
Want me to
think
take
that was
that?
youth. That was youth. Shari, you want to explain it?
Yeah, sure. Summer Rising is a program that takes place during the summer children are allowed to. It's basically like your kids who need to take education classes during the summer to make up for classes during the year, or parents who want them to continue their education during the summer. Heather, am I explaining this right?
Yeah, Summer Rising is a recent program. It's been, I think, in the second or third summer this year. It is offered in our district to parents free of charge. Parents can sign up for their child to get selected. Not all children get into the program. It is both an educational, and they do some like movement type stuff during the day. Students are prioritized for that program based on, for example, if you have to do summer school, you're automatically into Summer Rising. If you are on an education plan because you have maybe a learning challenge such as ADHD, ASD, dyslexia, or so on, you would automatically get into this program as well. But then that leaves also some other open seats for students. So one of the things that we've been hearing from people in the communities, there's just not enough seats, partly because parents need something for their children to do in the summer. They're interested in programs that enrich their child. They're also interested in a program that is free, because summer programming in this community, as a parent myself who had to pay for several years, it is hefty, even with discounts for multiple children and so on. So that's what it is. Hope that helps. I also see you. That it is summer school. They just rebranded. It's rebranded.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's rebranded and expanded, because summer school used to just be for those kids who have to make up a class in order to get to the next level. But now Summer Rising is not just for those students, it's also for students with learning challenges who may be already going to progress up to the next grade, but still need that structure and that ongoing support through the summer. And then it also provides educational opportunities for students in the community who want to continue to study and continue to push through. Does that help?
I suppose. I mean, like, just for summer school, like that's what it is. Like kids going to school for the summer, taking classes for whatever purpose. But yeah, it's just summer school. Okay.
Yeah,
So now that
rebranded.
I appreciate the answer to my question, because like as Sherry and you were talking, I'm just sitting here like, how is this different from summer school? But thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Peter,
All
I
right,
see
so
Peter
I
with a
see-
question.
I s-
And Eugene, I thought, had a question too, but he kind of
did.
went away.
I do. I still have a question.
So is
Okay,
this
go ahead.
just question period or proposals?
Question.
Carry on.
These are listed in a particular order.
These are the results of your Survey Monkey.
Perfect.
Everyone who responded to the Survey Monkey, we crunched the numbers, we weighted the responses. So for example, if this was your number one response, that got 10 points.
That
And
answers
so
my question. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's great. And these all came from, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of catching up. This is my first time doing this. So,
No, it's okay. Ask away.
feel free to answer in like the shortest way possible. Cause like, yeah. And these all came from previous priorities.
These all came from committee work. So all the previous committees submitted their budget priorities to us. We took their lists and then added them to the Survey Monkey for us to then rank them.
Understood.
Because
And when we send this to the city, who does it go to? Does it go to like the local council member's office or
OMB.
OMB directly?
But it will first, the board will have to review it itself at our October meeting. The next step will be for this to go to the board. They will review whatever list we approve tonight. The board will then, and Mark, I'm sorry, I'm talking over you. Do you want, so the board will approve this and then it'll go to OMB.
If I could just quickly add, also, so what we started last year for the first time is once we got our responses from the city, we forwarded it to the elected officials, because we think that although the city doesn't forward it specifically to them, we think that it's important that they see what our priorities are as well. So OMB only forwards it to the respective agencies, but once we get the responses back in a few months, we forward like those responses with our priorities to each elected official in our area to let them know what our priorities are.
That's awesome because they do have, large pots as well. So like if we can't get it covered by OMB or the city, maybe they can pitch in. Sorry, I'm gonna stop talking. I just have one more question. In when and someone asked whether there's like a large pot. I guess they ask just like an open-ended question, like what are your priorities, or do they try to give context as like, I guess, what does OMB ask that allows us, that guides us in setting this up? Or do they just ask an open-ended question about what the priorities are?
All right, so let me explain that this process that we're now engaging is a process that's evolved over time. Back, I think, when I joined the board back in 2016, this process was very short. Basically, what the process was, in September, we were given a list of 10 priorities, and then in October, we voted on those 10 priorities. So that was the process back then. So over the years, this process has evolved because the reason why the process evolved is because next to land use, this is one of the powers that community boards have. Land use is the first one, and making recommendations about budget is the second important power. So just like land use gets a lot of attention, we wanted to kind of bring more attention to this process because the community board, this is like the second major power that the community board has in terms of making recommendations. Obviously, lots of other things, but if you look at the actual charter and what community boards are mandated to do, land use is number one, and then making recommendations about budget is number two. So that's why we kind of, as we change this process moving along, we wanted to try to be as inclusive as possible. So that's why we began sending it out to the committees. The committees have an opportunity to then make recommendations. They do. We then took all the recommendations in June, and then over the summer, we compiled them, and then we sent around the survey to all the chairs. We asked you to complete the survey, and the results of the survey is what we're sharing with you now. And so basically right now, we have 15 people in this room. In addition to 15 people in this room, we had all committees make recommendations. So pretty much most people on the community board, whether you're a chair or you're a member of a committee, touch this process. And that's the reason why we developed this process, because we wanted more people to touch it, to be involved in it. And what we've discovered is now when we go October, we've done this, the third year we've done this. And the past 2 years, it used to be when things began to change a little bit and we began to try to open up this process more. I remember the first year we did it virtually. And when we did it virtually, it was kind of chaotic because people were making moves and we had 50 people on the call. So that's why we kind of developed this process as a way to kind of maximize input, but also not take up too much time. So I hope, Eugene, does that answer the question?
Yes, it absolutely does answer the question. I'm just trying to figure out what the city's process is, like whether they're actually like going to every district and dividing it up equally. So we don't have to get into that now. I can get a primer on that from you, Mark, later if that's okay.
Yeah, again, Christine mentioned it. We're going to send this to the city. The city's going to send the response. We'll then respond to the response, and then by the time we
know what I need for this
we
call,
start all over again. So that's kind of like how it works.
I will.
All right, I see Bruce.
And I will say, if anybody has any specific questions, they could always call the office, and I can answer some questions too. So that's also a resource.
Okay, go ahead, Bruce.
I just want to point out, and people who've known me a long time have heard me say this before, but there's always newcomers. This is more than a process. You mentioned it once, but this is a statutory mandate of a community board. It's not just the community board's not just an extended version of Oprah or Phil Donahue. We have certain responsibilities. Land use is a responsibility that we have. Community board delivery of goods and services is a responsibility, and getting the budget process in the way the city requests it, whether you like it or not, or find it boring or interesting, is part of what community boards are mandated to do. So we're just trying to get this. We're just trying to discharge our responsibilities in a way that makes the most people feel happy.
And
everything that Peter's writing in the chat,
as Peter's commenting, it gives us an advocacy document that we can work with. All right, Effie?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify these recommendations and priorities are specifically to our neighborhood only. They're not citywide recommendations, right?
Correct.
Okay. Quick question
So
regarding
our
one of the
priorities will look different than CB5 and whatever. Yes.
right. Quick question regarding the specific. What is supportive housing facility? What does that mean?
Keith? You want to explain a little bit about our supportive
Yeah,
housing?
I can take that. So basically, a supportive housing recognizes that there's a lot of individuals that can't quite succeed in housing on their own. So basically, what supportive housing does is provide affordable housing and social services within the same building.
Right. Any other questions? Effie, your hand's still up. Do we answer it?
Yeah, thank you. I'm just trying to understand all the nuances.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yep. And if questions come up during the time, raise your hand and we'll try to get to as many questions as possible because we want you to feel comfortable with what you're doing tonight. And I think, Mark, are we ready to move into recommendations? Are you starting with capital tonight?
No, expense.
Expense tonight. Okay, so we're starting with
because
expense.
we're gonna have to eliminate 10. So I want to look
Okay.
at that first.
All right.
So you should see on your screen that we have the 25 top priorities. So does anybody have any suggestions of what you want to move around? Okay,
I
let
see
me
some
check.
hands. I see
Hands up.
Peter. I see John.
Yeah, I see. All right, so Peter, you go first.
Yeah, thank you very much. On the number 27, traffic parking studies. So it's outside of the top 25. This is the number one priority of the Transportation Committee, because this is the operative way, requesting the DOT to do studies at particular streets for particular treatments. Those studies need to be funded. So this item is sort of the operative way that we actually, get things done, hopefully, by DOT to make sure that they have sufficient funding to conduct the studies we keep asking them to do. So I really feel strongly this needs to be in the top 10. Otherwise we don't get this stuff done.
Okay, so Peter, where do you want to move it to?
Well, I'm looking at who to pick on. Honestly, I'd probably move this in front of community composting programs. So I'd move it from 27 to 9.
So you're going to move this from 27 to 9. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion.
I think I already gave my spiel. So
Yeah,
I'll
you did your
back
share,
off.
Peter. You gave your rationale. So any further discussion? I see John's hand up. Is that for discussion?
I have another point I want to make, although I do support Peter.
You want to support Peter? Okay.
Yeah, but I
Any
have
other?
another issue though. But...
Any other? Okay, Gladys, is this about this motion?
A little bit. I feel that number 9, 18, and 20.
Okay, right. We have a motion on the floor, so
No,
please,
I
if you're
know,
raising
but
your-
yeah.
I
I agree
relate,
with
Mark.
him. Yeah, but my comment there was that if you were to condense those three, then you're moving up other priorities that might be because they feel redundant to have them in three different ones. That was my observation.
So, I'm sorry, say that again.
9. Can you give me the numbers, please, again?
9, 18, and 20. They're all about composting.
No,
Okay,
they're
all right.
not. They're not the same thing. If I could just, Mark, I'm sorry to, but they are all the Environmental Protection Committee this year decided to focus their work strictly on composting. And we got feedback last year from OMB that you can't just say composting because each program is funded separately and is funded differently. So you have to enter them separately. So whereas curbside composting is picking up in front of my house, that's funded in one fashion because that goes to sanitation, whereas community composting is funded through various organizations that can help facilitate community organizations collecting that. So that funding would go to something like the Botanical Gardens here in Queens, who can come and get that composting and then deal with it there. So that's why those three have to be separate. Otherwise, nothing will get done for composting.
And the other rationale is what we learned from last cycle is that when we bunch, if let's just say we do 4 things that we think makes sense to put them together, the city answers 1 and ignores the other 3, which means that we don't have any progress. In other words, doing this is an annual process. And like, again, the Regal Park Library, we learned last week, and Karen stood there and talked about it. The Regal Park Library was our #1 priority for many, many years. And the reason it was our #1 priority is we wasn't getting it done. So the concept is that certain things we want to do year in and year out to emphasize the importance of it. If we stop bunching stuff, the city's not going to get back to us. John, is this still, okay, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to go to Martha, because Martha hasn't spoken yet. Martha, this is about Peter's motion to move traffic and parking studies from number 27 to number 9. Is that what your comment's about?
Yes, I wanted to be clear on that. And again, my question is very similar to the last question, and I want to know if the same explanation holds true. We have 27 is traffic/parking studies. Then 28, we have traffic signs, Austin/Yellowstone. Then we have signal timing and those 3. Is it all going through the same budget?
Again,
or are they
in the
different
past, we've
places?
grouped those 3 together, and the response we get from the city is they respond to 1. So that's why we're separating them. We understand by separating them, we can't get as many things in. But the flip side is we prefer to get something in and have a response to the city versus having them choose which one they're responding to. So that's why we've begun to separate these things out. In the past, we've grouped them. But again, the response we get from the city is if we group 3, they'll choose which one they'll respond to.
Yeah, the city isn't a real fan of the idea of a value meal where you pack everything together. The city, what they will do is they'll address the first need in the list and ignore the rest.
Right.
Okay, no, I understand that. So what I'm trying to do is, I guess, trying to skim out what we need. So the proposal is to have more parking studies, elevate that to 9, and where would composting be?
The composting would be 10.
Yeah.
It would bump everything
Composting would
down
drop to
one.
10, and then open streets would then move off our top 25.
Which might be another discussion to have, but yeah.
Oh, it's coming.
But let's just, again, can we just stay focused on this motion?
We
Because
can.
otherwise we're going to be here for a long time. All right. So, Martha, did we answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay, good. And John?
Yeah,
I think John's was about something else, wasn't it?
Oh, John, are you talking about this motion?
No, I'm not, which I said several times. So I called the question on the motion.
Okay. All right. So is there any further comments about this motion? All right. So I guess we're ready to take a vote.
I think we just need to do a voice vote.
Okay, we'll start with a voice vote. Okay, all in favor of moving item number 27, traffic and parking studies from 27 up to number
People have to unmute themselves.
up to number 9 above community composting. So community composting would drop to 10 and we would lose open streets. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. So
Okay,
we're
bear
gonna be
with me. I'm
moving-
gonna try to make this change in real time so we can see what the list looks like. I'm not a expert.
Okay, do we do it in
Excel.
real time?
Let me just see.
Okay, so we can
it's
do it in real
now-
time.
We're inserting it here, correct?
All right. So again, so now as a result of that move, open streets now drops below, will not be among our top 25 recommendations. All right. So I see John's hand up. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I just a couple. I mean, I in terms of a point I wanted that was made earlier about the composting, I understand that these are separate, but I mean, this is becoming a kind of almost obsessively compost-heavy list of priorities. And I really don't know whether we really need to do all of them. Is it so possible to deal with it? I mean, I'm looking at something like the lowest one, the special rezoning district study, which I think is something that I think we have looked at and have looked at. I would think something like that, but I mean,
Okay, so John,
to kind of clutter this
what are
thing
you
with three
looking at? Can you tell
separate
me what number
composting issues
and what you
seems
want to
to
do
be
with
a
it?
little much. Well, I mean, is there one that can be dropped out, or I mean, do they all are they so inherently separate that we have to put them separately? I mean, I'm just
Yes.
trying to deal with it.
That's again
Okay,
what
which
we're
one
trying to say.
all right, then should we drop one out?
No.
Which is the least important? I'm just trying to say that this seems like it seems to really be rather obsessive in that direction. And if we have to take something, you know, as I said, I would like to see the rezoning district to get there somewhere, and I don't know where. I mean, open streets, frankly, is not as popular now that it was maybe a few years ago. That might go, and Peter may disagree. But I mean, I would like to move the rezoning district study at least somewhere in the
Okay,
25.
so what number is rezoning?
It's currently
36.
30. Well, it's 30. Yeah, well, yeah, they repeated 35 twice, so I guess it is 36.
It's the last
No,
one on
we
the
By
Zoning
priorities.
the way, okay, can I just explain? We didn't repeat 35. They were tied,
Oh, okay.
and they were tied in many ways. They were tied both in points and in number of people that selected it. So in that instance, that was a clear tie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to look at this is when you look at composting smart bins, how, as opposed to, I mean, clearly the one that was the continued composting programs, that's very important. And I don't think anybody would disagree with that. But I mean, curbside composting and composting bins, I mean, can one of those drop out? I mean, are they that significant, to be perfectly honest? And can we replace one of them with the other one?
Curbside
I'm
is
just
significant,
brainstorming.
yeah.
I mean,
Because environmental protection isn't here tonight, I'm going to explain their thinking because I did listen in to some of this. The reason they put smart bins is we have a whale of a lot of buildings in our community that will not participate in composting. And that is because there's been no enforcement on composting. So these folks would like to have somewhere to dispose of their food scraps. And these smart bins placed strategically in main thoroughfares allow people to do that. So in lieu of the city's lack of capacity to actually enforce the laws that they write, smart bins seemed to be the solution that this committee came up with. Now, that doesn't mean that they're giving up on curbside composting. And when you think about the composting in regards to this community, community composting was restored to a degree. So whereas we had it on Sundays at both the Green Market and at the Common Point, we will only now have it at Common Point. So we will have a huge chunk of our community still not able to provide composting, even after they have funded community composting. And John, I think that the way that we've put this together tonight is that if you want to move something, you have to say, this is what I want to move, this is where I want to move it, and this is why. So we need to know specifically where you would like to move the special zoning district. And then once we slide that in, things will just slide down. But we need to know where you want it to go, where you think it should fit on the list.
well, I mean, I wouldn't see other things of the top 25 to move out at the current time. I mean, does anybody support raising special rezoning?
I do.
districts?
I would
It's something
support
we've been
that.
talking about for a long time.
Absolutely, I support that.
Okay, so can we just,
Yeah.
So where should
But
we
that's
move
an
it?
incomplete motion. We need it to be a complete motion. There has to be, I want to move it from here to where. We can't
Okay.
have these half-C motions.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'll move mental health education out, and I'll put special rezoning. That would then be 25. It would be very low, but it will at least be in the top 25.
Okay, so John, is the motion to move the special zoning from number 35 to number 25?
Yes.
Okay, is there and your rationale again?
My rationale is that it's an important issue that I think we have been pushing, and while I think would be low, at least it would make the cut. And mental health education, frankly, I think is a rather, it's
Okay,
really
wait,
rather.
can we just deal with this motion? Your rationale is that. So is there a second to John's motion?
Second.
Okay. So discussion. Keith, are you raising your hand to discuss this motion?
No,
Okay, do you want to discuss
something else
this motion?
after.
No.
Sure. I think that John's points are valid. I think it's something that the land use committee has been like kind of pushing for years, even before my time. I think the fact that it's below 25 is a little bit unfortunate. So I support it kind of being up in the 1 to 25 range. I wouldn't move it into the top 10, but that's what my other point will be about later after we address this motion. So
Okay. So right now the motion is to go from 35 to 25. Any further discussion on this motion? Okay, Martha.
Martha's ahead of me.
I see Martha, your hand is up. Is it on this motion moving 35 to 25?
No, it was for another motion I wanted to
Okay.
make.
All right. So again, Peter, is it on this motion?
Yes.
Okay. So please.
Just to make it clear so everyone understood what the request is, this funding would provide us with a city planner who specializes in zoning changes, who could work with us and we could consult with in order to identify zoning proactively, zoning that would make things better for us in the district. Right now, it's all happening based on as ULERP applications come to us, and sometimes our choices get very spotty. This would enable us to really kind of do the deep delve into identifying parts of the area of the district that might need to see zoning changes proactively. That's why we've been pushing for it.
I would add on to Peter's comment as well that I think like the last major zoning study that the district has seen was the Rico Park Forest Hills study, I believe in the aughts. So it's been quite some time. It's been at least 20 years. Forest Hills has changed a lot in 20 years. So I think it would merit some further renewed study.
All right. So Keith, you were saying that you want to move this up higher? Is that was going to
No.
be another motion you want?
We gotta, Mark,
I
we
have a
have to
second.
do with the motion on the floor.
And Mark, it's Christine. If I could just suggest, we've had 2 people already speak in favor of the motion. So I would say like, if nobody is going to speak against moving it, maybe we can just take it for a vote.
Okay. Anybody speak out
Does
against
anybody
it?
have an issue with that?
Okay. So let's take it to a vote. All in favor of moving 35 special zoning district up
Unmute
to number
yourselves.
25?
Aye.
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 All against?
No.
All right.
I just want to make a quick note. Why I was completely lost. There are 2 35s here, if you notice.
Because they are tied. They were tied, Martha, in the survey. They were tied in the number of votes and the number of people that voted for it.
Okay.
So we will have to then decide how to resolve that.
Right. All right.
So we're moving
Honestly,
this.
it doesn't matter because it actually falls, the 235s fall below the 25. So what we will be submitting will be the 25. So actually, we don't have to resolve that
Correct.
unless we think we need to move one.
Correct.
So special rezoning is now going to become 9? Is
No.
that what we've-
No.
25.
Special zoning is going to become number 25,
Okay.
which means that we've now dropped open streets and mental health education down, and it's not going to be among the 25 that we're recommending.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So let's move on. John, I see your hand up.
No. I'll take
Okay,
it down.
then put it down, please. Keith?
Yes, I will.
Keith, you have.
I was gonna make another motion when we're ready.
Yeah, okay, we're done. We've
When we're ready.
already resolved that we're now moving special zoning from 35 to 25. So Keith, which number are you moving and where are you moving it to?
All right.
Mark,
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Martha had her hand up and put her hand down for the sake of the discussion, and she was waiting to make a motion after John.
Okay.
for
All right.
change.
So Martha, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, thank you. I wanted to make a motion to move the additional park workers down so that we can,
Give me the number, Martha.
okay. Wherever community composting roundup, I think it round up at 26.
No,
I
community
want to-
composting went down to 10.
Additional park workers would now be 11.
Right.
Okay.
Let me move up.
Open streets is the one that moves down. Move
Open
down.
Streets is no longer on the
Top
list.
25.
Right, so I want to swap additional park workers for open streets, wherever open streets round up.
Open
Streets
Streets
is
is
out of
now
the top
off.
25.
Open Streets is now below the top 25.
I second that motion.
Okay, I'm sorry. What's the motion?
Whoa.
What was
I'm
that?
not clear on this motion. Can I hear that again, please?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what you're saying, once it moves out of the top 25, we can't swap anything
No.
out of
Oh,
the
you
top
can.
25?
We can for this activity, but when we submit our priorities to the city, we're only permitted 25 slots. So,
Overcomplicating.
I no, but I get that. And that's why I'm trying to save open streets by moving wherever open streets round up and letting additional city parks take open streets. I'm trying to put open streets back
So
up
she's saying
into
that
top
city park
25.
workers, will not be on the list anymore.
Yes.
It will go below the 25.
Right. So
You'll
Martha,
move to
you're making a
27.
recommendation that you want to move Open Streets back up to the 25.
Yes.
Okay. Which means that we're going to have to then drop one of the top 25.
No,
No, she
her
wants to
motion.
switch them, Mark.
Oh my
just switch
God.
them.
Yeah, so open streets will be number.
11 for 27.
Yeah, so open streets will be number 11 and city park workers will be number 27 on the list for argument's sake.
So is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, I heard the second. Discussion.
Yeah,
Oh, Martha, what's your rationale? Okay, your rationale is you want to bring back in Open Streets.
Well, yeah, because I believe there's a big need for open streets. It has been fairly popular. It still is popular. And even, there's a call for more street fairs, more activities outdoors. I mean, that never goes away. So because we don't have enough budgets to encourage more fairs, I think giving open streets is a fair way to just let the families take advantage of just being outdoors during the nice weather.
Okay. So is there another person to talk in support of this motion?
I'd like to
Is
speak
there-
against it.
John, are you going to talk in support of the motion?
I'd like to speak against it.
Okay. First, let's
And
get
then-
one more person to support. Anybody that wants to
Well,
talk in
I'll
support.
explain why I seconded it. So this was the number 5 priority of our committee. The reason we supported very much as Martha was explaining, this is the mechanism right now. The way that the program is structured is you can apply to have an open street, but you got to rustle up all the volunteers to do it. It is a lot of work. I know a lot of folks who have been able to be successful. If anyone's been out to 34th Avenue in Jackson Heights, it is an amazing amenity, but the amount of personal volunteer work that goes into that is extreme. And we haven't been able to find that level of volunteerism in this neighborhood, although when we have had open streets in the past, a lot of people turned out to some of them. What this funding would do would raise money so that DOT can actually pay for staff to open and close and move barricades, and then eventually successive years redesign streets to make them safer, like around schools. In Jackson Heights, a lot of that open street on 34th Avenue, there's 3 or 4 schools. And in front of those schools, the streets get redesigned. People can still park on most of that stretch. It can still support the local buildings, but what it does is it takes away all the through traffic and returns much of that space to the community and specifically to like children and families. That's what's been the beauty of the program. So that's why I support it.
Okay, and John,
Can I
you want to
talk-
speak out against it, right? So go ahead, John.
Well, I'm really, one of the things why I am against is lowering. I mean, it would seem to me that lowering the additional parks worker, I mean, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, would kind of take it out of, will it take it out of the 25? I think would be terrible. I mean, one of the most significant issues that we face here is the fact that the Parks Department is being severely underfunded. The current administration has really shown very little interest in increasing it. I think a number of the issues that have come up in terms of on the community surveys, whatever, really can be attributable to the fact that there are insufficient park workers, and I think that by not pushing that, it's it really shows a lack of interest on that. This has been again a very controversial, issue in terms of the current administration not funding parks adequately, and I think it's important that we indicate that we have it. So I mean, I really do think that this, it is an important issue, and I don't want to see it kind of cast aside.
Okay, so is there anybody else that wants to speak out against the motion?
Me.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to add, this is Kendra. I think also the correlation from the report of, I felt like people were talking about litter and then correlating it to them feeling unsafe. So I think the city park workers and what we heard earlier about the parks, having the litter as well, I think that's really important. I would suggest maybe swapping it out for like the city bike
Wait,
expansion.
I don't want to, we can't, I think we should just stay with this motion because we start making other motions, it gets confusing.
And Mark, it seems like we have several hands that want to speak out against this. So maybe instead of continuing with the discussion, since we're seeing this, maybe we just do a roll call vote to see.
Okay.
'Cause I'm just trying to think about being time. So if you don't mind, I'll just try to do this real
Okay.
quickly. I lost Christina. You still here?
Yeah, I'm here. Can I just say, I can't raise my hand while I'm showing my screen, but I'm not speaking for or against the moving. I just want to clarify one thing that was said. Martha, you spoke about street fairs. Although you can probably have a street fair on an open street, you don't need an open street to have a street fair. So like street fair, the people that run the street fair can apply to close a street for any particular day. The open streets are more open on a regular basis, or a more permanent basis. So I just wanted to clarify that. And I just also wanted to say that part of my job when I have my budget consultations is to hear what the agencies think they could use more funding for, or and one of the things we heard today was that the Parks Department needs more funding for maintenance staff. So I will just
All
say
right.
that.
So it sounds like we should call the question. All in favor of this motion?
No.
I don't know
Mark,
what the question is.
we're gonna have to do a roll call vote here because there's too many differences. So I can do that for you, and I'll keep
Point-
track of it on my list.
Point of order, I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't know what the question is anymore.
Okay, the question is to vote to swap open streets with additional park workers. So that would put additional park workers below the 25 and move open streets up to the top 10, I believe. So is that clear, Bruce? Okay, great. Is anyone else unclear about what we're voting on? Okay, good. Brentley?
I was actually going to ask, you want yes for moving
Yes,
it or no
yes.
for keeping where it is? I want to keep
Yes,
it where it is.
means you're in favor of moving it.
I'm not in favor of moving it. We need more clarity.
So you're a no, okay? Edgar?
I'm a no.
Okay. Bruce?
I don't want it to move. What does that make me? I don't even know anymore.
So you're a no.
No.
Okay, Gladys?
No.
Kavish?
No.
Keith?
Yes.
Latrice?
No.
Mark?
No.
Martha,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Effie,
Oh.
Eugene.
This is to move open streets above forestry.
It's to switch
No.
open streets and additional city park workers. So open streets would become number 11 and additional city park workers would become number 27.
No.
Okay. John,
No.
Kendra,
No.
Sherry.
No.
The noes have it.
Okay.
So the next motion, we'll need just the next motion. So if you don't have a motion, you can put your hands down.
Right.
But if you do have a motion, keep them on up. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, Heather, your hand is up.
Oh, I'm gonna throw it down. I'm sorry. My
Edgar,
bad.
Edgar, I
Okay.
see your hand.
Thank you. I'd like to propose swapping open streets with compost smart bins.
Okay, so basically open streets, and which one?
Number
And
21,
number
compost.
21, compost smart bins.
Smart bins. Okay, so basically compost smart bins would be swapped out, and you're gonna have open streets. So compost, so we'll have open streets would then be number, I guess, 20.
21.
And then compost bins would go to
27.
to 27. Is there, okay, so again, why are you doing that motion? What's your rationale?
I think I totally get like we're prioritizing a lot of initiatives to increase access to composting for people. At the same time, like I think that we have enough items here to kind of make significant headway on that for the next budget. But I think that we all that to say is like I think we have, even though I understand like the strategy for composting, there are different tactics for doing that. I still think that we have enough composting items here for us to be able to reintroduce open streets without sacrificing too much of the prioritization here of like increasing composting capacity in our community.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. So is there a second to Edgar's motion?
And I'll second that because the compost smart bins, they also said they wanted, because not all buildings are following the rules and having that, but that could be enforced.
Okay, anybody else want to speak for the motion? Effie, is this for the motion? Effie, your hand is up.
Effie, we can't hear you.
Yes.
So sorry, it took a while to unmute. It's not for exactly the motion, it's more regarding our procedure. I'd like to make a point that I think we should all think about. Let's say, I think it's a little bit not the best way we're doing it. So let's say I want to swap number 35 with number 1.
Okay, Effie, I'm sorry. Again, we have to stay with one motion at a time.
Right, but this is regarding the procedure of this motion. So let me just give me a few seconds and I'll make my point. If I say I want to swap number 35 with number 1, even though everybody else like decided to make something number 1, we're taking it all the way down. It doesn't make sense to me that we are swapping. I think we should just put it somewhere and then everything else moves 1. We shouldn't be swapping. If you want to make it number 10, okay, and everything else move down 1, that's under 10. I don't think we should be swapping things.
All right, so again, Effie, I need to explain, maybe it's not clear, that the reason we're talking about swapping is because there are right now 11 items that are not going to get on the list. So if you're just going to say, we're going to put this here, it'll drop everything else. And then we'll have to then deal with the ramifications of dropping everything else.
Yeah, there are two types of motions. There's a motion that just wants to elevate a priority, but there's also a motion that says, I want to elevate this while demoting this. So there are two types of motions. I get your point that it seems like it would be more efficient, but I think what people are saying is this is not at anywhere near as important as this. So instead of dealing with the consequences of everything sliding, they're just saying, dump this, put this, if that makes sense.
I mean, if that's how we want to do it, fine.
Ooh. Okay, Latrice?
I have a question. So I'm not following a motion. I know I had asked earlier about number 14. Can someone please tell me what number 15 and number 17 is? Thank you.
Okay, can we do that?
Trace, we changed some of the numbers so already, so
Okay,
you have
so
to
I'll
just be more
rephrase.
specific.
Sure. Can someone tell me what Beacon Programming is and what Community Land Trust is? Thank you.
Okay, but we can take that after this vote. Does anyone have a question
Sure.
on the motion?
I have
Peter?
a comment. My comment was
Comment?
just in support. My previous comments I'd asked to be reflected here as to why. Also, and very much agree with the justification that Edgar explained, and it speaks to Effie's concern, which is because there is so much focus on compost bins. I think we've covered that, and it's taking up space on the main list that we can bring other things in instead. So in this case, I think it makes sense to do this more dynamic motion of a swap rather than a mere elevation. Thank you.
Okay, so can we call the question? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
No.
Okay, we have one opposed. Okay.
All right. So any other motions that we should be making?
No, Mark, before we move on to motions, we need to address Latrice's two questions.
Okay.
I can answer Beacon, and Keith, if you could answer Community Land Trust, that would be great. Beacon Programming is a program that is run by the Queens Community House. It is an after-school program that is run right now, that's actually returned, good news, to JHS 190. Oh, and Kavish was also on. Okay, so does that help? It's for middle school.
Yeah, okay, yes.
Okay, go ahead, Keith, with the community land.
Trust. Okay, so a community land trust are basically like another mechanism by which to provide affordable housing. Basically, it's a nonprofit corporation that holds land on behalf of the community while also serving as a longtime steward for affordable housing. So basically, it's another mechanism by which to promote affordable housing without relying on private developers.
Okay, thank you. I have no motion to make at this time. Thank you.
Okay, good. So any other motions? Keith?
Okay, I have a motion to make. I want to highlight, and hold on for a second while I kind of expand my screen a little bit so I can see where the numbers have landed. I want to move up basement apartment pilot. I want to put this up in the top 10. I want to put it above most likely crossing guards. Because crossing guards are well and good, but not when people can afford to live in the community. So one of the reasons why I want to highlight this is because this is basically one
I'm
of
sorry. So Keith, it's number
Yes,
right now. Basement apartment pilot is number 19, and where do you want
Yes.
to move it to?
I want to
It's
move it
number
to above
20
crossing
right now.
guards. So number 7.
Number 7,
Yes,
and then crossing guards would then drop down to number 8.
that's correct. Yes.
Oh, okay.
All right. Is there? Oh, I'm sorry. So go ahead, Keith. What's your rationale?
So I want to speak to this a little bit because I think this is one of the several measures that the land use committee had put forward as a way to kind of promote more affordable housing in the district. It was also something that was added to our list of conditions as part of City Yes for Housing Opportunity. We've also heard some support from this by the city and actually from the borough president himself. I want to highlight this too because I'm not seeing anything in the top 10 that really has to do with promoting more affordable housing in the district, except for number 1. I think number 1 is great, but that's supportive housing. But I think as we saw in the community results, over 30% of people participants had highlighted affordable housing as one of the top priorities. And I feel that things in the top 10, something should reflect that. And I think moving the basement apartments program up into the top 10 would satisfy that.
Okay. Is there a second to Keith's motion?
Second.
Okay. Good. Further discussion.
Yeah, there's something. Yeah, I definitely want to. I can't get my hand functioning. Okay, now I got it going.
There you go.
All right. So, obviously, I'm in favor of housing in many forms. I guess my question about the basement apartment pilot program is, if we don't address the infrastructure, namely the sewers, is the basement apartment pilot program going to be more of a negative than it would be a positive? Because I feel like if we're going to do that, then the infrastructure has to be there. I mean, just think, Hurricane Ida happened 3 years ago and people died as a result because they were living in basement apartments. So if the infrastructure isn't there, then what are we doing? Thank
Keith,
you.
you want to respond to that?
Can I respond? Yes. So I think this probably have to come hand in hand with the capital budget expense priorities. I think that infrastructure upgrades is part of that as well. So as long as we're kind of raising that one up in tandem, I think one would support the other. And basically, this is a pilot program that's actually been based on a very successful model that was done out in Cypress Hills, East New York, several years ago prior to the pandemic. Actually, several homeowners were actually part of that process before the pandemic killed the funding for that. So it's something that's it's been around. It's more just kind of like rebooting it in the recognition that what the program does is basically provide loans and other financial assistance to eligible low-income homeowners to upgrade their basements to be compliant with code. This is all in compliance with New York City Building Code and DOB inspectors that are versed in the issues that you're mentioning in terms of like infrastructure overload and things like that.
All right, Effie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all in support of the basement apartment pilot. Keith, you kind of started to answer, I think, what I was going to ask. I'm not very clear how this is an expense for the city. If I want to use my basement to rent it out, like the city is going to pay me money? Like, how's that an expense?
Yes, that's an expense because actually the city makes monies available in terms of like financial support for eligible homeowners, more often than not kind of low income, middle income homeowners. Again, this kind of goes back to the pilot program that was done in East New York, where the city made monies available. Actually, HPD made monies available. When the pandemic hit, those monies went away. So yes, the cities will be
So there's a
providing
subsidy
money.
for these?
Correct.
It's basically a subsidy?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and now it's more, thank you.
Yes.
Understood.
You're welcome. Mhm.
Okay, good. And Kavish?
I see Kavish.
Oh, I just want to voice my concerns about the basement project, the basement housing, just because the pilot program, if was done like before the pandemic, I recently, like I've lived in the same apartment building my entire life, and recently, like when it rains, like more frequently, my garage gets flooded, and a lot of people did get like died in their car on the Grand Central, and that's closer to my home. So I don't know how the geography works or if there's an issue, but my concern is mostly like, what if they approve a pilot program, but they don't improve the infrastructure? What if they approve the pilot program before they do infrastructure work? So that's just my concern. I've just noticed like when it rains, like in the past couple of years, like the basement always gets flooded. That wasn't an issue ever before. I just want to say that.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's a really fair concern. I would just add to that I think in playing a devil's advocate, the opposite to perhaps not supporting it is allowing what's already happening to continue to happen, because people are living in basement apartments right now illegally. It's not going to stop. It's actually only going to exacerbate because of the housing crisis. So what this does is basically legalize and put guardrails up around a practice that's already happening, that's endangering the lives of people, that's unregulated right now. So your concerns are noted, and I thank you for expressing that. But that would be the other flip side to why it might be beneficial to actually prioritize it, the program.
Thanks. Thanks, Keith. Martha?
I just wanted to point out to everybody that flood mitigation is number 2, infrastructure to support affordable housing, additional affordable housing is number 10 on the capital budget. So we have those covered already in capital budget for those who are on the fence to think that it's not going to happen. So we'll work together with each other. That's it.
Any further comments about this motion? Okay.
I can call the vote, and I think we should do a roll call vote, if that's okay with you.
Okay, so again, yeah, let's just. So
I'll run it.
I just want to clarify that we know what we're voting on. So we're moving basement apartments up from number 19 to moving it above. What was it again, Keith?
Basement apartments is actually number 20 at this point.
Yeah.
So it's going from 20.
Yeah.
So moving number 19 above.
To number 7.
Crossing guards.
20 to number 7, yes, and then everything else will move down.
So we're moving 19 to 7.
Yeah, but they're both in the top 25, so nothing will drop off.
Okay.
That's a
Can
good
I
point.
just ask a clarifying before we vote? Capital, what the money that's going to be used for capital is completely different from expense. So I don't want the comment that was just made to think that if we don't put money in for the expense that it gets covered in capital, because that's not how it works. The capital and expense are completely different funds for completely different operations of the process.
Yeah, they address different things.
Yeah, like
Yes, valid point.
completely. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna call the vote. Brentley,
Yes to moving it.
okay. Mark,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Edgar,
Yes.
Gladys.
Yes.
Bless me. Sorry, Keith,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Kavish.
No.
Okay, Latrice,
I guess my answer would be yes, but with a caveat. Like if the support is not there, then I would say no. Like, and that's the thing. Like I feel like if we're gonna move the basement apartment pilot program up, the support has to be there. Otherwise, what's the point? So I'll say yes, but with that caveat. Thank you.
got it.
I want
Martha,
that too. Can I have that too, please?
Yes.
Can I have that as well? That's
I mean,
So we're not submitting
guys,
caveats with our budget priorities. It's two different agencies. So flood mitigation will most likely be DEP, and this will most likely, the funding will come from either HPD or another source. So I just want to clarify that, just so that people don't think that we didn't submit what they voted for.
Does
all
that
right,
mean
Martha.
folks that have a
So
caveat or a
Kavish,
no?
okay, hold on, guys. We gotta settle. We're having too big of a party here. Brentley, are you a yes now or a no?
I don't really know at this point. I'll just stay with what I had.
Okay, yes. Kavish,
I'm still a no.
okay. And Latrice, you're a yes, caveat.
But I
Martha,
said yes with a caveat, but given what you just said,
you want to switch to a no?
I'm going to have to switch to no.
Okay, okay. Martha
Yes.
and Peter,
Yes. These are just intents. They're
okay.
not actually spending dollars. We need to
Right.
remember that.
Edgar, did I do you already?
Yeah, yes, I'm still a yes.
Okay, okay. Effie,
Yes.
okay. Eugene,
No.
okay. Kendra,
Yes.
Sherry,
No.
okay. The yeses have it. The yeses have it. It's 11-4.
So
Okay.
anyhow, we've made a lot of moves. So Christine, can you just share where we're at?
Yeah, I'm sharing it. I'm still doing the last one. You have to give me a
Yeah.
second.
Okay.
And I have to adjust all the numbers manually, so
Yeah.
just give me.
Can I make a
While
suggestion,
Christine is
Christine?
doing it, I just want to say something, remark regarding the caveats. From my experience, the city is never very good at being proactive. They're usually reactive. So one way to have the infrastructure improved, I hate to say it, is to have a lot more basements being flooded, and then they will react by fixing the infrastructure at some point.
Or not. Mhm.
Also,
That's
keep
true.
in mind that if we ever got to a point where they actually said, okay, yes, we're going to do it, we're doing the basement program, then the thing that we would immediately also be saying is, hold on, have you sorted the sewers? Have you sorted the water? So there's a difference between what we're doing now, which is aspirational, versus what would happen in the future policy wise if a project was to be approved. And so it's just, do we think this is a good idea? Yes, no. And then later in life, we need to make sure we fight for the other things that are needed if they're actually ready to try and implement. I hope that helps.
Okay.
Sorry, Brentley, you had a suggestion for me? I'm open to suggestions. I love suggestions. What was your suggestion?
I'm just seeing these little dots next to the number, and I believe you can just like hold it down and then move everything up. You don't have to like do all the stuff that you're doing, but I don't know if that's the case, but that's what I'm seeing because I've done this before. But like, see the little dots? If you just hold it, you
Yeah,
can
but the numbers here, so the numbers in column A, they don't correspond with the numbers of the actual row. So I think if I move this, it's not gonna change the number.
Oh,
So
then you can
it's just
just,
gonna put number 9 under number 10, and they're gonna still be out of order, I believe.
yeah, then you would, okay.
But
well,
I'll try it with the capital.
All right.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
so
Can I also
everybody
just
can see.
highlight, can I just also highlight, we had this meeting till 9, we have 30 minutes, so I just
Yeah.
wanted to highlight that too.
All right. So,
Did I
Christine, can you
change
just
it?
show us which is the ones now that are not going to be in the top 25?
Sure.
Right.
Can
So
everybody see that?
these are the ones that are not going to be in the top 25. And then, Christine, can you scroll down and show which are in the top 25?
Yeah, they don't all fit on the screen, but it starts up here.
Yes, that's up there. All right. So based upon all these changes, does anybody have any additional motions of what you want to move?
Can I just ask, since you keep mentioning 1 through 10 versus 1 through 25, did the top 10 get like, are they like viewed more by the departments, the city departments, or no? Like,
Yes.
okay, because I think that number 18, the Rego Park temporary space, should be moved up to 10 because that is something that they say is supposedly starting in spring of 2025. I'm just saying, this is for budget 2025. We should
So
be thinking
Bradley,
about
do you
that.
have a number? I guess we're gonna have to use the
Can-
I
number.
just said that. It
can
was
I- can I
28,
just-
18. Sorry, go ahead.
Can I just add something? We can do that, but the library, and Christine, you tell me if I'm wrong, but Queens Public Library has already kind of laid down the gauntlet like 12 times with us when we've asked for it. The council member, Robert Holden, has said that he would fund it. So is this a way for us to communicate, Christine, to Robert Holden, if this is what we want by putting it that high? Or do we or is it really going to make a big difference if we slide it up or not? That's my question, because we know what Queens Public Library's opinion is already on this.
Yeah, I don't know that, so these go to the agencies, so this will be seen by the Queens Public Library. We proactively sent it to the elected officials. So I think Robert Holden knows how we feel about the temporary library. We brought it to his attention, but so I don't think Queens Public Library is going to change their opinion of it based on conversations that we've had with them. So that's all the information I can give you.
Okay.
That's all I
fair.
need to know. Never mind then. Disregard.
I'm sorry. It's really sad because I get it. You really want to like see these things done. We get it. Christine gets it more than any of us. She's seen how many of these budget things. I see Bruce's hand, so I'm going to shut up, Bruce.
I wanted to speak to the, am I unmuted? I
No.
wanted to speak to the, I wanted to speak to the library issue. Actually, I would second that motion if Renly wanted to bring it up again. You know, for years we had the Rego Park Library as our #1 item. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, they began to start to move forward on it. So it's slowly dropped off our list to where it doesn't exist anymore. And we had that nice meeting last month, which is the same as the other 10 or 15 nice meetings I've seen on the same topic. And whether our dropping of that over time, because we felt it was in the pipeline, has slowed the process down, I couldn't say. But I would say that this is something that people have wanted, and if we moved it up, it would once again just remind people that's a priority of ours. And I don't know if it makes a difference in the broad sense, but it would certainly help. It would certainly help notify people of what our priorities are and how important the library is, at least to some of us. I mean, it's taken 30 years, so I don't know how important it is to others.
Yeah.
Bruce, it's Christine. I just want to clarify something. This is not the priority for the new Rego Park Library. That's a capital budget priority.
It's what
So
you
it's
said.
still on our list for our capital priorities. It's number 12.
Trying to
This
get
is
storefront. Trying to get a
excuse me?
storefront or something like that going up, right? Instead of the bookmobile, whatever. it is.
Yeah, so this is a temporary library during construction, but the Rego Park Library building is still on our capital priorities. It hasn't dropped off.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And again, this is for the rental, right? This is
Yeah.
to pay for a rental. That's why it's an expense item.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I see Effie's hand.
Thank you. A question to Christine based on Heather's previous comment. In the top 25 that we currently have now, is there anything that we know for sure is already like in the works and guaranteed to happen? And if so, are we just wasting our, I don't know if to say ammunition, are we just wasting a spot where we can elevate something else? Because why elevate something that's guaranteed to happen?
Nothing's guaranteed.
So I don't think anything, Bruce kind of just said it is guaranteed in the city of New York, but especially on an expense budget list, a lot of these are ongoing programs that need to be funded every year. So for the most part, many of these things are not one-time things. So, if we're funding crossing guards, we need to continue to request funding for crossing guards every year. So I would say, especially on the expense list, that there's nothing on here that I would say is a done deal, and we don't need to keep it on our list.
Okay. And same thing for the capital. When we get there, we just kind of like, if why waste the spot if we don't need to?
Okay. I see Kavish's hand.
Thank you. Can I make a motion to move? Okay.
Wait, I just want to go back. Brentley, did you withdraw your motion? Because Bruce kind of seconded it. Was that a motion on the table or not? To move the.
I would like to see it further up. I just don't know what I would want to replace, like swap it with, or move things all the way down. That's my concern at this point, because I see top 10 having some very significant things. So I don't know where to move it.
Okay.
So I
So
really
then,
don't know.
if you don't have, then
Yeah,
wait,
it's
I think we
technically
have to
not a
move on.
motion then.
Right. No motion, we keep going.
Yep, and so now we go back. Okay, are you, so you're, Brentley, you're cool? Okay, he's cool. Kavish, you had a motion?
Yeah, I was thinking expanding I don't know if I could do this, but expanding Summer Rising and Beacon program is move both of those up above City Bike expansion. So if that's possible, just move both those. I feel like they kind of go hand in hand, and I feel like it just makes sense to keep them together, maybe.
All right, so Kavisha, can you look on the screen?
my
What's
mind.
what number?
Yeah, sorry.
he did-
So it's 16 and 17, and those are expand Summer Rising and Beacon program, and then move it above above City Bike expansion.
Okay, so you want to move 16 above the City Bike expansion.
16 and 17, Mark.
16
Yeah,
and
so they would
17.
become 13 and 14, and everything
And
else
then would
would move
become
down.
13 and 14. Okay, again, Kavish, what's the rationale?
He already said.
I mean, I could expand on it for sure. I think, well, I was Beacon program hired SYEP, like as like internship wise. I did that when I was in high school, or college. Summer Rising, I covered some teachers at the Halsey. I think it's a great program. I think both those programs are great for kids. And that's kind of my rationale. I think, especially Beacon, if it provides SYEP kind of positions, I think that helps SYEP as well. So I'm just kind of more in support of those two because of youth education and kind of what it provides outside of just the youths getting educated.
Okay, so you're moving 16 and 17 above
City Bike expansion.
City Bike expansion. Okay,
I
so
think that's gonna happen.
the City
of-
Bike
because-
expansion would drop
I think it's
to 16, and then the other two would go above.
Can I second that motion?
Eugene, you're seconding it. Okay, great.
So wait, Mark, I just want to confirm because it sounds, so we're moving two priorities. So 16 and 17 would now become 13 and 14, and everything else would move down on the list.
Right.
Right, and
City
none of them
Bike
would drop
becomes
off the
15.
top 25, right?
No,
Correct.
because they're all in the top 25 already.
All right.
All right, so Eugene second the motion.
Okay, so Eugene, you want to, since you seconded,
think-
you want to speak on why you're supporting the motion?
Yeah, I also participated in the Beacon program, and I found it excellent. And I just think that everything we can do to support, I think that families in this neighborhood care about, there's large family populations. I think that people in this neighborhood care about, making sure that kids have the resources they need. So I think it's just a good priority to support.
Okay, and Latrice?
Yes, I am going to take Brentley's suggestion and build on it by putting forth a motion to move up the temporary Rego Park Library during construction.
Latrice,
Wait,
we're still dealing with
Latrice,
16
we're
and 17.
on,
Okay,
we're
Latrice,
in the
I'm sorry.
middle.
We can't keep on making different. We're dealing with
Okay,
we're
you know what?
dealing with
I'll
the
hold
motion.
on. Let's take care of this. Let's take care of this.
Yeah, thank you. Shari?
No, Kavish, actually, you read my mind about this. I'm only going to add that the Summer Rising program, a lot of families in our neighborhoods are finding it very difficult to find seats for their own children. So I think that we need to make this a higher priority.
Okay, so anybody speaking out against the motion? All right, I don't know, I think we do a voice vote on this, right, Heather?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. All in favor?
Say
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Anyone opposed? Okay, unanimous. Okay,
Okay,
now,
so now we got Latrice. So what do you
Okay,
want to do?
now I can table my motion. All right.
Now you can do your
So
motion.
I want to take Brentley's suggestion and build on it by putting forth a motion to move up the temporary Rego Park Library during construction to number 5, knocking 3K for all down to number 6, mental health care for uninsured number 7, and so on. And the reason I want to move the Temple Rego Park Library during construction up is because I had suggested to Heather and Christine last week how I think where the Rite Aid used to be on Queens Boulevard, 63rd Drive would be a great location for the library. And I imagine given that location, renting it out will not be cheap. So that will be my motion. And
All right, so again, it's to move the temporary Rego Park Library, which is now 18, up to the top. Where do you want to move it to again?
number 5. And then
Number
3K
5.
for all will be number 6. Mental health care for uninsured number 7, and so on and so on.
Okay. All right. So is there a second to
Second.
Latrice's motion?
I second that.
Bentley seconded
Okay.
it.
Who seconded it?
Brentley.
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 Brantley. Okay. So Brantley, why don't you speak on the motion?
I completely agree with what Latrice was saying. That's what I was trying to get at, was that we seem to have a space. We just need to find the funds to be able to temporarily move all of that stuff to the Rite Aid. It's right there in Rego Park, so it wouldn't be that big of a difference to the community. And they still have access to free services while the construction is being built, like the construction of the new library is being done. And also it's kind of helping because the suggested start date, I'm gonna say suggested because we don't know, is spring 2025. So we're kind of getting ahead of it, which is great in my opinion. That's why I'm seconding it.
Okay, and I see
Is
Peter's
there
hand.
anybody? Oh, okay. I see. Shari, I see your hand up. Is your hand still? Okay, it's down. All right.
Sorry.
Peter?
Peter.
Peter?
Hey, thanks. I mean, I totally get it, and I'm very supportive of the library, but I actually would be against this. When you look at the list of items that it would push down, crossing guards, mental health care, the traffic studies that we need to get done to make our streets safer, those are immediate needs that need to get funded. The library, as Heather's already pointed out, one, the agencies responsible for building it are going to do mobile support. They will not fund a temporary space, and us moving this up isn't going to change that reality. If we can get our council member here to support it, which he's already said he's interested in doing, I think that conversation is already happening. And the fact that it's in our top 25 shows we want it to happen. So I think it's sufficient emphasis. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just make one point, Mark, that this is for, just so everyone remembers, this is for fiscal year 2026. Okay, so it's not, so we have to think about that in relationship to what we learned this past week about when the project begins. Just throwing that out there, some little meat to chew on. If you're a vegetarian, it's a piece of celery. Are we, I think for this.
We have to take a vote.
We have to take a voice vote.
I don't see any further discussion on the motion. So
Okay, voice
I
vote?
think we should just take it. I don't think this is a voice vote. I think we should take the roll call.
Roll call, yeah.
Yeah.
Bruce,
Yes.
Gladys,
No.
Brentley,
Yes.
John,
No.
Kavish,
Yes.
Keith,
I think he said he'll be right back.
he's here, I see him.
No, I'm here. I
Are
voted no.
you a yes or no? You're a no?
I'm a no. Mhm.
Okay, Latrice,
Yes.
Martha,
No.
oh, this is gonna be a close one. Edgar,
No.
Effie,
Oh,
Eugene,
No.
Kendra,
No.
Sherry.
Oh,
Okay, and I'm a yes. The noes have it.
I didn't take a vote.
Oh,
Me
sorry,
neither.
Mark. Go ahead,
No.
Mark. Mark, go
No,
ahead.
I don't think it changes. I voted no.
No. Okay, Peter.
As did I. No.
I'm so sorry, fellas. I must be blind to your face. Okay, the noes have it. That was like 11.
Okay.
11 noes.
Right. All right.
Okay.
So, Effie?
I had my question out before the other issue. I'm just kind of wondering, expanding summer rising, is that really local? That's done citywide. I can't imagine that they're going to give extra money just to our neighborhood.
Well, that's what we're asking for.
For our
Because
neighborhood.
I'm sorry,
For
I'm
our
sorry,
neighborhood.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, Effie, but there were, and I'm really not happy about this, but there were far more seats in the southern part of our school district than there were up here. And the need is just as great on both sides. And that was made
Absolutely.
clear at a borough board presentation from the Department of Youth. And so we need to be making it a point that they have to be more fairly distributed.
Absolutely. My son got a seat in Staten Island the first year of summer rising. So
Oh my gosh,
imagine that. Imagine that.
what is that?
There was
Which
no
is why
place in
we need
hell
to make
for
this
him.
a priority.
So,
All
okay,
right.
No,
so,
I just want to make sure that we
Any
get
other
the money, you know.
motions to change anything?
okay, so
Peter.
Peter, I see Peter. You're muted, my friend. I'm sure you're brilliant, but I can't hear you.
I have my moments. No, I just wanted to see if we can make a motion to now close this list and move on to capital.
Yes.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second that one.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, huzzah. Okay, capital.
All right. So now let's go to capital. All right. So again, with capital, we don't have to worry about any dropping off. We have 40. We have a right for 40. We got 30. So this is just a question now of which ones do we want to prioritize. So, Peter.
Yes.
Your
Oh,
hand
that-
is up.
that- sorry, that's from before.
Are there, first, before we start, Mark, maybe we should make sure that, because Latrice had some really, excuse me, excellent questions about the expense list. Can we see if there are any questions about the capital list? Eugene, I'm assuming, do you have a question?
No, I just wanted to, well, I do have a question, but
Okay.
it's also potentially moving something up.
Okay, let's get to you second, just in case. Does anybody have any questions with anything that's on the capital list? I do want to make one note that we got today from Parks in regards to the Willow Lake project. They asked for us, and Christina, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm crazy. But they told us to put that on hold. So that's probably better situated. I don't see a list right in front of me right now. But it's better situated at the bottom because they're doing some ongoing work for a couple of years that would keep any type of improvement project on hold. So we don't need to rush to move that to the top. So that was a note we got from Parks today. Christine, am I correct in that?
Yes, it's number 17 currently on the list.
Okay.
It's I think Heather, you knew what I was gonna ask.
Oh, okay.
It has to do with that. I'm just kidding. But okay. Just
Wow, really? I love how that happens. Okay, so Effie, do you have any questions about the list?
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, it seems like, let's say 26, 27, and 28. Are they really different? For example, are they really going to upgrade water fountains, but when they upgrade them, they will not increase the water pressure?
You don't live here, do you?
Well,
Go ahead,
well,
Christine.
Kavish could speak to this too, but basically the Parks Committee felt that they were separate because if they can't upgrade the fountains, maybe they could at least increase the water pressure. So it's like kind of like one is probably like not going to happen as quickly. But they did also tell us today at the consultations that they don't have a funding source to upgrade like all the water fountains in parks. They usually upgrade them when they're renovating a park or a playground. So that's just something to keep in the back of your mind.
Okay, I see Kavish raised his hand. Or
yeah.
put it down.
Yeah,
All
sorry.
right. So Martha,
Yes.
Question?
Oh, not a question. Let me know when I can make a motion.
Okay, we have
So let's go
Eugene
back to
ahead of you in
Eugene.
line for that. So,
Okay.
Mark, seeing there are no more questions, I say we go to motion. So Eugene has a motion.
Okay, Eugene, go ahead.
So I do have a question before I have a motion. Was forestry moved already?
Was what?
Forestry moved up or down?
That was in the expense, I think.
That's totally
It was
separate.
not moved.
Okay.
If it was moved, it was just moved up or down on the list based on other recommendations, but it was not specifically moved.
I'd love to recommend that forestry move up.
We can't. We've already
Can't.
voted
We
on
closed
that.
that.
Capital budget.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm
we moved
sorry.
on. We closed that, Eugene.
I'm sorry I missed it. I apologize.
Yeah, sorry. We're not going to go back. All right. So I see Effie, you have a motion.
Wait, Martha was next, I think, right?
Martha was next.
Yes.
I thought Eugene had a motion too, but after his question, did he
Wait,
not?
Martha, was that your motion, the forestry?
That was in my motion.
No, I know.
Can I make a different motion? Can I make a motion that we go back?
No. No.
Just for one thing?
No.
All right. I tried.
You can make the motion, but it sounds like it's not going to pass.
No.
Eugene, if you
We
feel
want to keep this.
passionate,
We want to keep this meeting moving. No.
Eugene,
no.
if you feel passionately about this, then you can make that motion when we discuss it as a board on October the 13th.
That sounds good. Thank you, Heather.
9th?
I mean, October 9th.
Sorry.
The board meeting is
November
October
the
9th.
13th. I'm sorry, smoking crack over here. Okay, who is up next? Martha.
Yes. Very quickly, I'd like to switch 19 library ADA accessibility to replace 15 biking infrastructure. I really think that we really have to show how important ADA accessibility is for every aspect that we can.
So your request is to swap them.
Yes, please.
Swap
So
them.
you would want biking infrastructure to move to number 19 and 19 to become 15.
Correct.
I second that motion.
Okay.
Who seconded the motion?
Latrice.
Latrice. Okay, Latrice, you want to speak on the motion?
No, I just agree with Martha's point about the importance of increasing ADA accessibility to everyone. So that's why I second her motion.
Okay.
So you have school, like public school ADA, and then library ADA, and school and library go hand in hand. So her motion makes sense, and I support it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I see Eugene.
All right,
Eugene.
that was from before.
Okay.
Okay,
I see
Effie.
Peter and Effie. Peter?
I'm sorry, is it me now?
No, it's Peter. Then you.
Thanks. I mean, I'm certainly supportive of the ADA, and I would support moving it in front of biking infrastructure, as Latrice was just saying, schools and then library. But I don't support moving by switching, doing the swap and bumping biking infrastructure all the way down. It was one of our leading priorities at the Transportation Committee. It is something that the public was talking about, street safety. And we know the studies show that when you increase bike safety on our streets, it makes it safer for all road users. And it's interesting, if you go into that full report and look at individual other suggestions, the number of bike infrastructure suggestions are very noticeable. It's something that respondents to that public poll kept making on their own in all different kind of combinations. So I'm happy. I would ask if Martha would see as a friendly amendment to change her motion to move ADA library accessibility to 15, period. And that would just bump things down. Would that be acceptable, Martha?
If we move library ADA accessibility to 15, then biking infrastructure will become 16.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
And there's actually a typo in the numbers.
Yeah, so basically it'll be 3 15s instead of 2.
No, there shouldn't be you put that because it was tied.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
If there's 2, then
So-
that means they were tied. Yeah.
But that doesn't work
So
with
if
our,
we want
all
to make
right,
it,
so everything would move
what
down.
Peter is
Maybe
suggesting
instead
is
of-
having 3 number 15s, I'm on board with that.
Can I just make a motion that we stop referring to numbers and we just refer to the two priorities we want to move around and how we want them to move. So it sounds to me right now that what Peter is proposing, and I think that Martha is agreeing with, is that she is fine with just taking library ADA accessibility, putting it above biking infrastructure, and everything would just slide on down. Is that correct, Martha? Is that what you agree to?
Correct.
Instead of doing a swap. Okay, so it's correct. Peter, that's what you're proposing, correct?
It is, and thank you, Martha. With that change, I become supportive.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other debate on this now after
And
the
just
change?
to clarify, it's not gonna be 315s, it's gonna be 216s, correct?
It will eventually all come out in the wash. We'll eventually have to work that out.
Yeah,
Right.
once
Not
the list is determined in order, we will number it straight down. There can't be 215s. We have to give everything a unique number when we put it in the
But
system.
it doesn't matter because again, we're not going to be knocking any priorities off. All right. So it sounds like we reached consensus. So I think voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against.
Okay, next.
All right. Any other moves?
I see Keith, and then I see Effie.
So I have a move. I just want to suggest, I request that we do a simple swap. Trying to look at the top 10. I'd like to swap elevators Long Island Railroad Station Square with subway elevators. I want to move subway elevators up in terms of the overall priority. That's my motion. My reasons for this kind of are based upon the fact that I think we don't have any elevators at the 63rd and 75th stations. I think that
Or
there's kind of like
67th.
Yes, thank you. There's
It's okay.
there's
Okay.
a
So you want to move elevators Long Island Railroad Station to where?
I want to swap it. I want to swap elevators Long Island Railroad Station and subway elevators. So basically, subway elevators becomes number 6, and Long Island Railroad becomes number 8. So my reasons for this, even though I am supportive of elevators of the Long Island Railroad, I feel that subway elevators affect a larger demographic swath of our community in terms of like working class folks. $2.90 for a subway fare versus $7 for Long Island Railroad fare is actually pretty significant. Long Island Railroad just runs between Forest Hills and other parts of Long Island, or directly into the city where people can use the subway for more local travel, subway travel. So I would just kind of like reprioritize that. That's my motion.
Okay. So is there a second to Pete's motion?
Second to that.
I second
motion.
Okay.
Subway elevators
I
was our
heard
number
Peter
one priority.
first.
at
Peter, you
committee.
want to speak on the motion?
Yeah, thanks. Sorry. I would just wanted to say that I second that subway elevators was the number one capital project coming out of the Transportation Committee.
Okay. Any other comments?
I have my hand up. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
Latrice.
want to speak on it.
Oh, Latrice. Go ahead, Latrice.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
So this issue hits home for me because one, I am a member of the Transportation Committee, and number two, 63rd Drive is my home station. Currently, the entrance on Junction Boulevard, where the IKEA used to be, is currently being closed for reconstruction. I don't, based on the looks, it doesn't appear that they're putting an elevator there. But my question to Keith would be, if you were to build an elevator at 63rd Drive, where would you put it? Because in my opinion, that would be the most ideal location, but I don't see where construction is heading in that direction at this time. And also on 75th Avenue, again, where would the elevator be constructed? Would it be constructed like where Queens Bully is located? Like how would that work? Thank
Okay,
you.
I think it's more for Peter. I think Peter's transportation. Peter.
Oh, okay. Well, I said Keith because he was the one who proposed the
Right, I
motion. But
understand,
either
but
one,
Peter's
I'm
doing
looking forward to hearing from either
transportation.
one of them.
So Peter, why don't you answer?
Yeah, I mean, if they could work it into, I mean, I kind of suspect eventually that cluster of buildings on the north side of Queens Boulevard, like where the Dunkin' Donuts and I eventually see that area being developed. I think that becomes prime real estate, and eventually a developer rebuilds that. And if that ever happens, I think one of the key asks and demands we should make is to seize that opportunity to request an elevator be built in as part of that project so that we get some developer funding to do that work. But otherwise, that's an engineer's question. I don't know if we need to concern ourselves too much with the engineering. Our job is to really just kind of bang on the walls and demand things and get them to listen to us. But for sure, if ever that came about, I think there might be opportunities that present themselves that we can try and get some public-private money going.
The reason I ask is because just last year, that area where the Dunkin' Donuts is, that was closed for reconstruction. And right now, the south side of Queens Boulevard, where the shoe store is, that's currently closed for construction. So I just kind of feel like
Okay, just to explain, this is happening at all stations throughout our district. They are just refurbishing entrances. There are no elevator projects that have been brought to our attention by the MTA at this time. These are just improvements to the entrances that needed to be made. A lot of those stairs are very uneven. There also was a proposal that maybe an elevator be put in over by Sears, where Sears used to be, the IKEA used to be.
Yeah.
But that's for them to work out. We don't have to work out the details to justify what the need is, unless we're like trying to put an elevator in the middle of an ocean. So I think we have a motion, I believe, is
Correct.
to
Is
swap.
there, okay, so any opposition to the motion?
I'm not opposed to it, no.
Great, so let's call for a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Okay,
All opposed?
nothing.
All right, good. So basically, we're swapping subway elevators to 6,
Mhm.
railroad elevators to 8. All right, Peter.
Well, you got to me faster than I was expecting. Okay, so there is an item for safer subway platforms. It was 25 at the beginning. I suspect it may have changed a bit. Right, so that item is like the number 4 or 5 project from the Transportation Committee, and what it refers to is pushing for things like platform doors so that people can't push you out onto the tracks. And it definitely needs to be higher than the one in front of it, noise abatement, which actually I think should go to the bottom. But I would actually make the motion that we move the safer subway platforms item above biking infrastructure.
So, and biking infrastructure now is biking infrastructure change. Oh,
16.
okay. So
Biking
biking infrastructure is
infrastructure is
now number what?
16.
16. Okay, so we would move it above. So that would drop biking infrastructure to 17, and it would put the subway platforms above that one.
Correct.
Is there a second to Peter's motion?
I would second that.
Okay, and that's Keith.
Yes, that's Keith.
Okay, so Keith, you want to speak on the motion?
Yeah, absolutely. So I spent a big chunk of my summer traveling throughout Asia, and you see like subway doors on subway platforms everywhere. I just don't know why we're so behind in this city. And I think Peter mentioned the safety issues. I think we have a lot of issues more and more these days of people being pushed in front of trains. And aside from the fact that MTA just needs to up their game in terms of safety. So yeah, I mean, ridership is down. I can't get people to take the subway and use their cars less if there's safety concerns. So obviously, I'd be supportive of this for many reasons.
Okay, Effie, are you talking to the motion? You have been on the motion.
I have a related motion, but I'll do it next. Let's just move on with this one.
Okay. So any other discussion about this motion? Good. Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. So Effie.
Oh, thank you, Peter. You kind of did half my job. I was going to suggest to move number 20. I think it was the original. I'm not sure anymore. I think it was 25, the safer subways. And also, I wanted to move the subway CCTV infrastructure. I would suggest to put the subway CCTVs just
which
above
subway?
the
Number
subway
16?
elevators because, sorry,
Which one do you want to move?
the subway CCTV infrastructure to move
the
it
subway.
above the
Right.
because
Okay.
that's also a safety issue, and to move it above the subway elevators, because why would anybody want to take the elevator to the subway if they feel that they're unsafe to go there? So I think the safety is important to bring back ridership.
All right, so moving subway CCTV to above the subway platform, gates, right?
No, above
subway
subway
elevators.
elevators.
Above subway elevators. So that would basically push elevators down. Elevators are now 6. That would push elevators to 7, and it would put subway CCTV up to 6.
Correct.
Is there a second to that motion? Okay, seeing none. I guess, sorry, Effie.
That's it. No.
I guess we'll have to move on.
Guys, is that just security cameras like in the subways? Is
Yes.
that what that is?
Yes.
I would second that. I don't know.
Second why?
Well, see, the thing is, I just don't want to move it that high. But I would definitely support moving it up, but maybe not that high.
No, you have to
Has to be the
approve the
same?
specific motion.
All right, I'll second it. Why not?
All right, so
I'm open to moving it lower if that makes a difference.
No, I just think I think that like public safety on the subways right now is an issue. And
all right, Eugene, where do you want to move it to?
This isn't easy. I would move it maybe like to next to safer subway platforms, right under it.
That's where we tried before.
No, we were doing it above subway elevators before.
Elevator.
So now
before.
he's saying
Okay,
he
and-
wants.
And where
so
is
you want to
where's
make
the
it.
safety?
I want to
where
make
is
it
it now?
number 17 instead of from 24 to 17 instead of before it was number 5. So like 5 is hot, very high, but
Okay.
next to subway. I mean, maybe
I'm
that should.
okay with that compromise.
Yeah, I would even include like CCTV with subway.
Yeah, we can't
safety.
combine.
No,
They're
I
different.
I know, I
No.
understand. They're different, but that's why
Okay.
I'm linking them.
So
Okay,
are we making a
Effie?
friendly amendment to the
I'm
motion?
okay with that amendment.
Who's
Okay,
doing the
so
friendly amendment? Heather.
no, the
Who's-
friendly amendment is from Eugene. The
And
friendly
Effie
said
said
amendment,
it was good.
Yes, friendly amendment for me.
and Effie agrees with the friendly amendment being that they would like to move subway CCTVs directly above subway platforms now.
Yeah,
Okay.
she said under.
Select
I'm agreeable
below.
with
Under.
that.
So between
Below.
subway platforms and biking infrastructure.
Yeah,
Right.
under safer
Okay.
platforms.
Okay, and
All right.
all right.
Everyone
So we
clear
got
on that?
So we have the motion. It's a friendly amendment. We have a second. So any further debate?
Okay.
Anybody against the revised motion? Okay, seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. Do we have any other changes?
I would move biking infrastructure up, but was that made already? Was there a motion made on that?
Not yet. I'm interested to hear what you think.
I would move biking infrastructure up. Can we just scroll up? I haven't really thought about where, but I would like to make a motion to move it up.
Sure.
Okay, where would you want to move it up to?
Maybe like right below daylighting. Yeah, like number 10 above Austin Metro.
Infrastructure to support additional housing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is there, okay, so Eugene, I was Eugene, right? So
Yes.
what's your, can you just, why do you want to do this?
I mean, I think there's lots of areas in Forest Hills that just aren't covered by biking infrastructure, particularly with the development of the Greenway. I think it's important that it be something we prioritize because linking the Greenway with other parts of existing biking infrastructure, I think, is important. I think there's areas that are not accessible by subway. So just
okay.
creating
Is there
more
a
linkages
second
in
to
the-
Eugene's motion?
I would second it if we put it above the Austin Metro trolley instead. And I say
Okay,
that
would you-
only because we've had so many concerns about making sure there's sufficient support, like infrastructure for things like the basement pilot program or other stuff. So
So Eugene, would you accept that as a friendly amendment?
The
You're
Austin
saying to move it above Austin Street, but below the
Sure.
below infrastructure support of additional housing.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Then I second.
Okay, and then Peter seconds. Any further discussion on this move? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank
All
you, Eugene.
opposed?
You're welcome.
Okay.
Motion carries. Peter, is
Effie.
your hand still up to do another motion? No. Effie, is your hand up to do another motion?
Yes.
What do you want to do?
So I got an email from the other committee members. They want to elevate the business district security cameras. I'm not sure where. I would just open it to the rest of you. I would say maybe around
Yeah,
number
I'm sorry,
10.
you're not doing that, Effie. You got to say somewhere.
I'm saying
Where do you
around
wanna
number
move it to?
10. I'm kind of flexible on the exact number.
Okay, give us a number.
Number 10.
No. I mean, you have to, I mean, the thing is, I feel like everyone is like jonesing for 10. And I know 10's the magic juju, but we just have to be careful that we have to be careful that we're not just all trying to take those 10 parking spots. So do we have a second on Effie's motion to move business district security cameras up to position 10? Christine, that would that would push what down to 11? What would that make 11, Christine?
That would make 11
I would-
infrastructure to support additional housing.
Okay,
I would
So
actually
is there
rather make
a
it number
second
11,
to
not 10.
Effie's motion?
hold on. Effie, what were you saying?
I'm saying I would rather make it 11 rather than 10, actually.
So that would push down from biking infrastructure on.
Okay, do we have a second for this motion? Oh,
Are these Argus cameras? Is that what we're talking about?
I don't know what the city would do. I mean, we don't have,
Yeah.
probably though, right?
Right, because they're not, or like, is it grants to local businesses to include to
No, no, no.
This would be installed by the NYPD,
Argus
I
cameras?
believe.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I think there recently was, just Effie, because I feel bad you've put two motions up and they've both kind of tanked. But just to be clear, I do know that the city council member recently awarded money to the NYPD for additional security cameras within the district. So the good news is, and you could take this back, is that I believe that there was funding from the council member from her discretionary last fiscal, to award stuff like this. And this would be the second time that a city council member in this district has funded that project inside of a decade.
I would support it if it was like grants to small businesses. I just think that Argus cameras are really, really expensive, and it's just they're they do get sufficient funding from the NYPD and from local council members, and they're just like kind of a waste of money in my opinion. They're like 200 grand. I don't know if the figures have changed, but I remember them being like $200,000 each, and I'd rather see that money being spent in a different
Eugene,
way.
where do you want to move it to?
I'm
No,
not
no.
making this move.
He would
That's
be
not the
adding a new
proposal, so he
priority
doesn't
for
oppose
next
it.
year.
Yeah, correct. And I don't think I could do that.
No. Next year you can.
Okay, so any other motions? Good, so I'll say the motion to close out our capital expenditures. our
So
capital
moved.
budget
Second,
priorities.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Okay, we're
All
done.
right.
Thank
Now,
you all.
Christine and I were going to go over something else tonight, but it's 9 past, whatever. So we're going to table that for another time. It was basically a set of best practices to sort of help you guys be real strong committee leaders. So we will reach out in a week or two to maybe get a date to do a quick 45-minute, 1-hour meeting with you guys to just kind of go over this because I don't want to keep you guys longer. Christine, so once the board, just information, point of information, once the board passes approves this list, then we go ahead and we input it into the system. We will supply the board with more detail than we gave you guys because we think if you guys had questions, they will have questions. But Christine, did you want to talk at all about the other piece that goes along with this? The
district needs statement.
Yeah, thank you. My brain.
So I will speak very briefly about it. So basically, these are our budget priorities. In the same document that we submit, we have to submit a district needs statement, which is broken up based on the same categories as the budget priorities. So what we will be doing in the next month or so is we will be sending the section that applies to your committee to you based on what we submitted last year. So when you receive that, take a look at it. Let us know if there's anything you think should change. Let us know if there's anything you think we should add. And before we submit it, we'll go over it. And I think it's important to hear what the committee chairs think our district does need. And basically, we base it off of our budget priorities as well as the opinions of the chairs. So I would just say, look out in your emails. At some point, you will get a list of these. It'll basically be a paragraph about your committee and what you think our district needs based on your committee.
So Christine, you have to have this, and you got to submit this by October 30th. So timeframes are tight, right?
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, we have over a month.
Yeah.
Yes. What is your question, Mark?
Again, just in terms of when do you need, you're going to send this to committees. When do you need it back from the committees?
We're
I'll
sending
let
it
you
to
know in the
chairs,
email.
not committees. If I can make that distinction, Christine, we're sending it to chairs. We're not sending it for the committee to do. We're sending it for the chairs to work on.
Oh, okay. Just
So
the chair.
based off of your experience with your committee in your budget priorities. So you don't have to have another meeting to discuss this with your committees. It's basically, you're going to base it off of what you've already learned about what your committee wants and needs. And maybe you won't have anything to add. Maybe whatever we have will be sufficient.
Right, but again,
have done
when
this
do
in
you
the
need
past
it
as
back?
well.
Like, I assume you'll put out, when you put it out, you indicate timeframes, right? In terms of when you need the response by.
Yes, of course I will.
Okay, good.
It will be a short turnaround. I mean, it'll probably be about 2 weeks, but we can't start that process. We have to do one thing at a time, so.
Right. I just wanted to say, but
Coming.
the other
Just one-
suggestion I have, and then Bruce, I see you raising your hand. I just want to make a suggestion though. We spent almost 2.5 hours on this. Heather, if it could be encouraged that community board members if they can be encouraged or they can't be forced to watch this, because I think we covered a lot of ground here. And my concern is that we're just going to revisit this all over again at the full community board. So I know you can't force people, but I think it would be great if we could encourage them to watch this.
And Mark, that has been a common practice that we have done when we have things that are especially core to our mission as a board. But again, we can't, you can drag a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. We will supply them with all the necessary information that they need for this meeting. It will be up to them to brief themselves on this meeting. And we will, of course, post this.
Right. Bruce?
I just want to point out that the district needs statement is a public document. It's already out. So that when Christine gives you the language is already exists. It's already on the on our website, for example. So if you want to edit it tonight, you can, or whenever, before now in the deadline. So I just wanted to point that out to people who are not aware of that request that Christine's making. It's not as onerous or as as tight deadline as it may seem.
Okay.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks,
And each section is limited in how many characters we can have. So that's why I'm saying it's, as Bruce said, it's not going to be a, 10-page document about what we need in each category. Each section is limited to how many characters you can submit. So.
Right. Okay. Sherry?
Yeah.
Just a quick question. I didn't hear when this will be distributed to the chair board, the chairs.
Christine, it'll
What do
be,
you mean?
when do you estimate that we would distribute this? Would this be after our board meeting on the 9th?
I'm not sure, probably. At least the first or second week of October. So I will let you guys know as soon as I can, but I don't have an answer right now.
Okay, Bruce again. Can't hear you.
Still can't hear you, Bruce.
You hear me now?
No, we
Yep.
can.
There are two different things I think we're talking about, right? We have the list that we created tonight, which and also the document that you want edited. So the list we created tonight, because I'm having a meeting tomorrow night. I'm planning, if it comes up, to share this information with my committee tomorrow night. Is that okay? Is that too soon?
Yeah.
No, that's fine. We will send this list. The budget priorities will be sent out before the board meeting. It won't be by tomorrow. I'm just being honest because I have meetings all day tomorrow, but it will be received before the October board meeting because the entire board will be voting on it.
Right. So if I had to bring this up at a committee meeting tomorrow night, which I may well do, that's not in violation of any rule or handshake we have.
No. Feel
just-
free to share.
Just so everyone knows, this is budget consultation season for our district manager. It's her first budget consultation season. And what that means is that she meets with various agencies. From the minute she walks her butt into the office until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, she has just enough time to swallow some coffee and go to the bathroom. So when she says she's busy, she's genuinely busy. We have one agency, Parks, that likes to do it in person. They like to do it right and proper, which was great. But most of the time you're in marathon meetings. And so when she says she's busy, it's a for real busy. Just so y'all know. Mark, do we have anything else tonight or are we good to go to the bathroom?
No, I think I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
Aye.
Well, thank you for your 2.5 hours tonight.
Thank you guys so much.
Everybody.
Have a good night.
Ciao, beautiful faces.
It's great. I thought it was a very fast 2.5 hours.
See you October 9th.
Ciao.